Yeah. All right. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. Hey, it's so awesome to be able to be with you. One of my favorite things to do is to talk to pastors and leaders, and to be able to do that today. And so, man, I just encourage you to take some notes. Ask questions. Don't wait for, if you just got a question, just throw your hand up in the air, and let's just hang out, kind of all pretend we're hanging out, having coffee and talking, and let's just learn some leadership and development. Kind of going to take on what I talked a little bit last night with Mitch's leadership team, talk a little bit more about that out of a book I wrote called Saving Your Church from Itself. And so I'll get to that in a moment, but I want to thank Mitch for yesterday rescuing churches. And what an incredible thing, an incredible church that you have here, Mitch and Melanie, and so appreciate you. And also want to recognize Jeff Baker. He's the pastor of New Life Church. He's the executive director for Church Boom. And so appreciate him and his friendship and his leadership. And he pastors a church here about eight feet away. And just right out the door. It's in the garden. No, it's in. But he pastors a church, and he's the executive director, great friend and partner in ministry. So a little bit about me, for those that have never met before. I'm the founding pastor of South Hills Church. We have 12 locations, and I don't do a lot of the day-to-day anymore. I spend the majority of my time with Church Boom. I started that. We shifted over to that about 4 years ago. We started South Hills Church, my wife and I, and grew it, and then, and like I said, got up to about 12 campuses. Then I decided I'd take sort of a back seat and kind of help out in the background and started Church Boom. Well, we actually started years ago, but went more into Church Boom. We, as Pastor Mitch said, we coach pastors and rescue churches. And that's what we do. We just help pastors be better pastors. I have two coaches in my life, Sam Chan and Dan Ryland. I believe that professionals get coached and amateurs learn by trial and error. You got to decide which one you want to be. A professional or an amateur. And so I think that the professionals get coached. And I know that I get coached. I've been getting coached for over 10 years. It ain't cheap. And but I do it because it's not about an expense. It's about an investment. So, but guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of out of the book that I wrote called Saving Your Church from Itself. How many would admit ministry ain't exactly the easiest thing to do? And it's not easy sometimes. And my old coach tells me all the time, if you're not bleeding, you're not leading. There's always something going on. There's always challenges that are happening. And so a while back, if you know me, I hate to be late for appointments. I love being on time. And so a while back, I was going down the road, and I was headed to go speak at an event. It was a 2-day event, kind of up in the mountains, kind of a thing in Southern California. And I was late for an event, and I hate being late. And I was going to speak that night and then the next day at this event. And so I'm driving along, and I'm going way faster than I should. How many have ever been speeding down the road, but you're praying at the same time? You know what I'm talking about? Lord, as I break the law, may you be with me. You know what I'm talking about? So I got to be doing 85. I don't know what I was doing, but I was going fast. And I'm praying the whole time. God, please don't let me get pulled over, which is such a weird prayer, Lord. As I break the law, may you bless me. And anyway, so I'm flying down the freeway. I know I'm going too fast, but I'm late, and I hate being late. There's a long story of why I was late, but I hate being late, and I'm flying down the freeway, and all of a sudden, I look up in the mirror. You've done it before, and there's the red and blue lights flashing. And so what did I do? I punched it. No, I was just like, oh, my goodness. Now I'm going to get a ticket, and I'm going to even be more late, So I'm going, and I'm thinking, I look up, and I see the red and blue lights. I'm like, oh, gosh. So I pull over, and then he gets out of his car, starts walking towards me, the whole thing. You've all done it before. I look down, and I know you're all going to judge me right now, so let's just get ready. I look down, and I see my Bible. And I take my Bible. I know this is bad, and I put it on my dashboard. I know it's horrible, but I just thought, maybe he's one of us, I'm just telling you the truth, man. And so I was just like, maybe he's one of us. So I take the Bible and I put it on the dashboard. Horrible, I know, but I did. And so he comes over, license and registration, please, and I give him the license, registration, blah, blah. He starts to tell. I love when they say, you were speeding. I'm like, oh, I knew. You were doing 85. Oh, really? I go, because back there I was at 105. And he said, and he's talking to me the whole time in the window, and the whole time he's looking over at my Bible. I could see him. He's talking to me, and he keeps looking at my Bible, and I'm thinking, ooh, I got him, you know. This is it, you know. He's one of us. And so then, you know, license registration, does all that. I'll be back in a second. He goes back to his car, starts doing some stuff, and I'm thinking, he's writing me a ticket. I thought he was one of us. Like, I can't believe this, you know? And so I was kind of upset, you know? And I'm like, man, what's the deal? So I thought I'd add more to it. So I put like a cup of tea and a candle next to it. That way it's a devotion. And so then he comes walking up, and he says, okay, you got to sign here, blah, blah, does his little speech, keeps looking at my Bible. Right? And I'm thinking the whole time, I can't believe he's giving me a ticket. And then he's like, okay, well, drive safely, have a good day. And he starts walking away. He puts his head back like this and kind of into the window, points at the Bible and says, oh, by the way, read Romans 13:1. Now, I know a lot of the Bible, but I don't have every verse memorized. He takes off, I open it up, and says, obey the laws of the land. My luck, I had to get a Christian cop. And so I finally arrive late. I speak, got there just in time to speak. I mean, they were worship. I literally walked in and started speaking. And then the next day, they had this river rafting trip that all the people were going to do. And I talked to a guide there. And the guide told me he'd been doing this for 30 years as a guide for river rafting. And I was like, wow. And I said, man, what are some of the crazy, so he tells me some crazy adventures that he's had as a river raft guide, people falling off the boat, saving lives, doing all this stuff. And I said, what's the biggest leadership lesson you ever learned from being a river guide, you know, kind of taking people down the river in a big old boat or whatever, a raft. And I said, what's the biggest leadership lesson you ever learned? And this is what he told me. He says, well, he goes, I've noticed on rafts there's three kind of people. Those that row with you, those that row against you, and those that don't row at all. And I thought, man, that was amazing, because I thought, that's the way it is in ministry. If you're a lead pastor or you're leading, so some of us are a lead pastor and you're leading a church. Some of you are an associate pastor and you're leading a department. Some of you are a leader and you're leading maybe just a certain area. But I've noticed that those that row with you and row against you, and those that don't row at all. And you know what I'm talking about. There's people on your team, man, they're going with you. They're making it happen, man. They're all in, you know, and they're 100%. Those that row with you. Those that row against you. You know the type. They always come up to you after the service. Brother, I need to talk to you. I'm like, here we go. And you just always know when it starts off with, brother, I don't mean to be critical. Well, then don't. Stop there and don't be critical. There's a thought. And then those that just don't row at all. You're just like, they're just there for the free air conditioning or something. You know, it's just like they really don't do much of anything, you know. And that not only happens with the people that attend the church, it also happens with leadership. We grew up to 12 campuses, 120 employees. So it was, you know, and I didn't know all the employees. I didn't know everybody. But there's times where it was like, man, I can tell when people were rowing with me, and I can tell when people were rowing against me. And then I could also tell when people weren't rowing at all. And there is a power, an incredible power, you guys. If you are a leader of anything, or a lead pastor, or you're an associate pastor, or an elder, or whatever, at your church, this church, or whatever church you come from, please understand there is a power in alignment. The Bible says, you know the scripture, the kingdom divided against itself will not what? It will not stand. However, it's interesting to me that in churches you often see people get upset or get angry, or there's divisiveness that can happen between the lead pastor and the associate, and it creates this sort of tension that is difficult to deal with. And then the Bible says that a kingdom divided against itself doesn't stand. It hurts the kingdom. Someone yesterday after the service came up to me. And because I spoke at both the services here, the great church here, this giant igloo is just amazing. And I love it. I pulled up. I was like, I've never seen a church like this in my entire life, except for when I was in Alaska. But a person comes up to me yesterday and just begins to kind of, ask me some interesting questions, and I just found myself just thinking like, I don't know, just why are you asking those questions? What's really the motive? What's really the heart behind this? And I think that sometimes there are motives and there's things behind certain things in staff meetings, but or in staff with staff people. But I do think there's a power with alignment. I want to show you this scripture. Put it on the screen for me, if we could. And it says this in Genesis 11, verses 5 through 7. But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. Look, he said, help me out now. The people are, what's the next word? What's it say? The people are united and they all speak the same what? Language. Okay? He says the people are united, they all speak the same language. After this, okay, key word, after this. Not before. After this, nothing will be impossible for them to do. Okay, we'll just stop right there. Nothing will be impossible for them. Now, here's what it is. You know the story, Tower of Babel. The Lord's not really happy with what they're doing. He comes down. He says, all right, let's mess around with their language. That way, because they're not obeying me, they're not doing what I want them to do. They're disobeying me. But the Lord, this is interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but the Lord recognizes, even though they're doing wrong, even though they're disobeying me, even though they're creating discontent, even though they're doing all of this stuff that I'm not happy with, but because they're united and because they speak the same language, nothing's impossible for them. Okay, here's the thing about unity. Unity is universal. Unity is universal. In other words, meaning it doesn't matter if it's for good or for bad. Unity works. Did you catch that? The Lord said, even though they're doing wrong, nothing will be impossible for them. Even though they're disobeying me, that doesn't matter. But because they have unity and they speak the same language, nothing will be impossible. It's so fascinating to me in these scriptures that the Lord is saying, even evil can win if it's unified and speaks the same language. And that is a power for us to realize, for us to have that place in our own ministry as lead pastors or campus pastor or associate or leader in the church or whatever we are. How do we find unity and how do we make sure that it happens for us? And the clearer you are, the stronger you are. The clearer you are in where you're going and what you're doing, the stronger you are. And so, a couple of things, 3 reasons why I think this is so important. They'll come up on the screen. Number 1 is this. Write them down. Alignment forces out personal agenda. Alignment always forces out personal agenda. Man, I shared last night that we started South Hills Church in March of 1998. And a few of you remember last night when I shared, we started March 1998, and South Hills Church, my wife and I, and man, God did some awesome things in the beginning. It was the roughest start ever. Like, we had the worst launch of a church you could possibly imagine. However, it was amazing what God did. And I shared last night that when we launched the church, we decided in 1998 to make a 4-minute video. And we were going to make a video. Now, how many of you remember VHS video? Okay, and then DVD came in. Then Netflix came and wiped that all out, right? But there was VHS, and we created a 4-minute video and put it on videos. They were still acceptable, and that's how we launched our church. We sent it out to 10,000 homes. And do you know how hard it is to make a 4-minute video about a church that doesn't exist? I mean, literally, you got people on there going crying, "It's changed my life." I'm like, "You liar!" And we haven't had a service yet, but we made this video, and it was supposed to go out to 10,000 homes. The people that were delivering it, the label machine got stuck, and instead of the videos going out to 10,000 homes, 7,000 videos went to one home, which was a disaster. They were also once pass tapes. Once past videotapes are used videotapes, meaning they were an exercise video or whatever. They got cleaned up. They take the label off. They run it through this machine, take off the video that was on there, and instead of being $2 a tape, it's 25 cents a tape, which when you're buying 10,000 and you're broke and you're starting a church, that works. Well, apparently, not all the videos got cleaned up. And you can imagine what happened there. I'll never forget when a guy called me. The videos went out, 7,000 went to the same home, and they had to pick them up, and then they had to send them to these different homes, and that was it all in the same week. Then a guy calls me up. He's like, hey, man, I sat down to watch your video. I don't know how to say this, but he said, first 3 or 4 seconds, he goes, there's 4 or 5 people on here, and they don't have any clothes on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and it's like, that's not good. Like porn. Hi, I'm Pastor Chris. And not a good thing. And so we had the worst launch ever. 7,000 go to one home, all that ugly stuff on these videos. And I'm thinking, great, that's how we launched our church. And we had the worst thing. But as we began to grow, we were attracting some really great leaders in the first couple of years. Strong leaders. But what I've always noticed is some of them are really, really strong, and they came in and they had personal agendas. They wanted a position in the church within like 8 hours after they arrived. They felt that they were called to do this. They felt they knew what was better for the church than the pastor. They wanted to tell you that it should be more verse by verse, or it should be more worship, or it should be less of this or more of that. And they have these personal agendas. Now, that's why alignment's so important. If you're a leader, one of the greatest things you can do is to be clear about your mission, because to be unclear is to be unkind. You want to be clear about who you are, where you're headed, what you're doing, what your mission is. And that way, when someone comes along and says, well, I think we should, it's like, no, this is where we're going. Here's what I've noticed. The clearer I become, the less people conflict against it. The less clear I am, the more people try to push their agenda in. And so I noticed that in the first few years of launching South Hills, I was like accepting all sorts of, people's opinions and all sorts of whatever. And I think part of it was that we weren't as clear as we needed to be. We grew like crazy. Man, the first few years was ridiculous how fast we were growing. But I don't know if we were really crystal clear. And to be unclear is to be unkind. And I think the clearer you get, the stronger you are, because people don't come in going, well, we need to do this, and we need to have something for pets, or whatever they're doing. But they don't if you're really, really clear. It's incredible. So, second thing is alignment creates a badly needed dividing line. To know, you guys, alignment, to be able to say, this is who we are on this side, this is who we're not on this side. And when I remember it was about the 5th or 6th year, we were getting so crystal clear. We put into our version of membership, we called it Discover. We didn't have membership, we have partnership, because I think membership has rights and partnerships has responsibilities. So we called it partnership. And so we had this partnership, this thing that we do, you come and you learn and all this. We had 10, we put this out in our little packet to new people. 10 reasons why we're not the church for you. I just thought, let's just get it out in the open right now. If you're looking for it to always be verse by verse, we are not the church for you. If you're looking to have a choir, we are not the church for you. If you're looking for whatever, we're not the church for you. Now, some people say, well, why would you do that? We may as well get it out in the open right now. Isn't it a lot better to create the dividing line early on in that person placed at the church, or later on when they have a lot of influence? It's a lot better to do it now before they have a lot of influence. So we would create a badly needed dividing line, because that's what it does. And the third one is alignment brings everything into focus. Alignment always brings everything into focus. And you know exactly who you are and what you do. I remember when I live in Southern California, and we live close to Disneyland. So we go to Disneyland all the time. And I remember when our kids, the first time we took them to Disneyland, we didn't take them as babies. I was like, that'd be a waste. I want them to remember it, and especially in Disneyland, where the tickets are anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. And so we're like, okay, let's take them to Disneyland. I'll never forget. And we take them to Disneyland. I don't know if you've ever been there in Anaheim, California. And we take them to Disneyland, and they're probably 5 and 6 years old at the time. And so we ride all these rides, and if you know anything about Disneyland, we got off the Pirates of the Caribbean, and that was a fun little ride. The kids could handle it. I looked over at the haunted house, and there was hardly any line. And that's what you got to do when you go to Disneyland. You're picking the places with no lines. And so I was like, let's go over there to the haunted house. And my wife's all, we can't go over there. The kids will get scared. I'm like, they're not going to get scared. It's Disneyland. How haunted can it be? Like Mickey with one ear. It's not that scary. And so I'm like, okay, let's go do it. And she's okay, I'll wait out here. So I take the kids on the haunted house. Basically, you go around in this little car, things pop up, and, not scary. They're playing this weird little music. But then you come to a place, if you've ever been on it, where you go and you're in this little cart, like three of you. My daughter's here, my son's here, and we're going in this little cart, and you see this little ghost pop up. You can see in the mirror, and it pops up behind you. But then you look like that, and you can't see it. It's just like it's this illusion, whatever. I don't know what it was, but, man, my kids lost it. And they just could not handle it. They're like, they're starting to scream. And I'm thinking, Mom's going to kill me. Calm down. And then I remember I had to turn it into a leadership lesson. So I looked at my kid. This is what happens when you don't clean your room. Like, trying to make sure they understood the power of it, We get out, and the kids are crying. My wife's all, I told you, And I said, well, I said, come on, man, and what do you guys want? And they're like, a churro, And I said, okay, we'll get a lemonade and a churro. So we had about $6,000 left. So we went and got a lemonade and a churro at the little stand, and the little stand there. And the lady was absolutely the rudest lady I've ever met. If you've ever been to Disneyland, everybody's always happy. Everybody's always, hey, how you doing? Not this lady behind the counter. She's probably 25 years old. Like, how you doing? She goes, lousy. That was her response. And I'm like, lady, you're at the happiest place on earth. Bring it down. And she's all lousy. And I said, well, why lousy? It's a horrible day. And it's just me and my two kids are standing there. I'm like, okay. I'd already ordered a couple lemonades and churros. She's kind of getting them and talking to me. And I said, well, at least you got a job. I don't like it. I go, well, at least you got a place to live. Yeah, but I don't like my roommates. You got a car to drive, but I don't like that either. And my kids are looking at me, Dad, can we go back on the haunted house? This lady's freaking me out. But she was so incredibly opposite of the way the culture really was. And I know one of the executives at Disneyland, and he's like, man, if you want to pick up trash there, you got to go through 3 months of training. Not how to pick up trash, just to make sure you match our culture. That's how strong it is. But alignment has a way of creating a clarity and a focus to everything that we are to do. But what happens is that as we fight for this alignment, there is a natural tension that takes place, you guys, between what I call, and you might want to write this down because this is going to be the premise for quite a while here. It's the tension between the first and second chair. Say it with me. What's the tension between the what? Come on. First and second chair. There's a tension between the first and second chair. So if you are Kevin, right? Is it Kevin? Yeah, you're the lead pastor, okay? You probably got a couple staff members or whatever, and they're in the second chair. You're in the first chair, they're in the second chair. Then if they lead the youth or the children or the worship, they're in the first chair there. But then they're in the second, but then they have people in the second chair. So in most cases, if you're not the lead pastor, you sit in the first chair, but you also sit in the second chair at the same time. And even if you're a first chair leader, you're probably answering to somebody, some board, some person, you're sitting on some team. Okay, you sit in a first chair here, and then the second chair over here. And that's where the tension is. There's a tension, one more time, between what? Help me out one more time. Between there's always a tension that happens there. Now, let me show you what I mean, okay? It's a tension. Here's the tension. Put it on the screen for me. It's a tension. There it is. Ta-da. Where does the tension come from? It's a tension between, help me out, what two words? Between what? And authority at the same time. Think about that for a moment. If you are a leader, there is a tension between submission and authority at the same time. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 1, Jesus said to the disciples, all authority I give to you. And then in verse 39, he said, and by the way, if you really want to live, you got to die to yourself. Well, which one is it? And Jesus would say, yes. You have all authority, but you also got to die to yourself. You have all authority, but you're also sitting in the second chair. That's where the tension shows up. The tension comes in the fact that you are possibly sitting in a first chair over a youth department or over a small group or over a campus or whatever, but then all of a sudden you're sitting in the second chair over here. You have submission and authority at the same exact time. That's where the tension comes. And we have to recognize that where it comes from. Put the second one up there if we could. It's a tension between creativity and boundaries at the same time. I want you to be creative, but you also have boundaries. That's usually where the worship guy pushes his luck. Am I right? It's like, we're going to start a zip line, and you're going to come down. And you're like, no, that's not going to happen. And they all think that $100,000 is no big deal. I remember one of our worship pastors was like, look, we need to put the screen up. I got a quote on it. It's about $125,000. I'm like, you say it like it's 50 cents, you know? And I'm like, well, come out of your pay. That's where it's come from. And but it's the tension between creativity and boundaries. Well, you got to be creative, but you also have boundaries that are set by someone else at the same exact time. It's a tension, put it up there with me, number 3. It's a tension between personal opinion and the leader's direction at the same time. You have personal opinion. So if you sit in the second chair, you got personal opinion. Like, I think we should run the church like this. This is where we should be spending money. This is how we should teach the Bible. This is how what we should do for the homeless. This is how we should worship. This is how long we should worship. We should move more in the gifts. We should move less in the gifts. You've got a personal opinion. But the tension comes in personal opinion and the leader's direction at the same exact time. In other words, you got an opinion, but you also have to submit to the leader at the same exact time. And that's where the tension comes from. The fourth one, it's a tension between your strengths and the leader's weakness at the same time. Your strength and the leader's weakness at the same time. Okay, here's what that means. You might be stronger in an area of the leader that you serve. Here's another one that's really hard, especially for lead pastors. You might have a better communicator on your team than you. I've had that before where I sat there. I remember one time sitting there at one of our campuses, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I remember sitting at one of our campuses and I was just visiting it. I wasn't speaking at it, and that campus ran maybe 1,500, 2,000, something like that. And I remember sitting in the front row and I leaned over to my wife and I pointed up at the campus pastor. I said, he's better than me. That was really hard, so I fired him. No, I'm sorry, not totally playing. Like, dude, if you're going to be better than me, then get out. No, I'm totally playing. But it's difficult because we have our strength and we compare it. It might be that you might be as a second chair leader going, well, I'm administratively stronger than the pastor. I'm a stronger leader than the pastor. I can speak better than the pastor. I can play guitar better. I can do that. Whatever you can do. I can organize better. I can follow through better. You ever notice this? We never judge people based on our weakness. We only judge people if it's our strength. If you don't have any follow through, you don't look at anybody else and go, he's got no follow through. Somehow you justify his lack of follow through because you have it yourself. But if it's a strength of yours, that's where we judge people. We don't judge people according to the lens of our weakness. We judge people according to the lens of our strength. And that's how we kind of deal with that. So it's a tension. Here we go. It's a tension between gaining influence and giving honor at the same time. That's the wild thing, is that the more you sort of work in the church, you're gaining influence, but you also have to give honor at the same time. This shows up especially if you have live speaking in a multi-site, or when you're gone, you have an associate fill in. And when the associate fills in, what happens? People come to that associate and go, man, I really love when you speak. Oh my goodness. And then this is the best one. Oh, I love Pastor Bob or whoever, but oh man, but when you speak, we can feel the Holy Spirit. Oh my gosh. Please understand, if you are in the second chair and people come feeding your ego, try to put up a wall. I mean, you accept the compliment and say thank you, but do not let it go to your mind, heart, spirit. Don't go there. I'm telling you, they're in every single church. I love when you speak, la, da, 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 da. Like, humor's my thing. When I spoke yesterday, it's the thing. Like, I can tell stories I did a lot of speaking for Verizon, Home Depot, and tons of speaking over the years for corporations and in public schools. And humor's got to be a big thing. And I was at a church a while back, and it was, the pastor's a pretty, straight-laced guy. People came up and they're like, afterwards, oh, man, you got to give our pastor some funny lessons. I'm like, I don't know what a funny lesson is. Literally said funny lessons. I'm like, well, and I said, your pastor's amazing. I can't keep up with that guy. That guy knows the word of God like nobody I've ever met before and blah, 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 blah. I just flipped it the other way because I thought, I'm not going to let it go there. Maybe they didn't mean anything by it, but please understand, if you're an associate at any level, if you're a leader that's under a lead pastor, it's going to happen. People are going to compliment you. I love the way you pray. I love the way you worship. I love the way you teach. I love the way you whatever. And that's okay, they compliment you, but be careful. If it starts moving into that you're gaining influence but losing honor, you don't want to do that. It's a dangerous place to be. And I know this is a straightforward thing, but let's all get real honest. I could get up here and talk about how to grow your church, how to get visitor flow, and then there's a lot we talk about in Church Boom, all that. But this is the real stuff, because this is the stuff we all deal with, and it ain't going to just happen once in your life. People are going to do stuff. They're going to hurt you. They're going to say things. They're going to go against you. You're going to give someone a position in your church, and they use it against you. I had that happen. I give someone a platform, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, you didn't build this platform. And I remember handing off a campus to someone, very large campus. I said, okay, it's yours. Da, da, da. A year later, he was walking around all arrogant, like, oh, look at this, what I've built. And I'm like, dude, just because you're standing on third doesn't mean you got a triple. Someone got you here, buddy. But they forget that. Be careful with that. Be careful not to allow that to happen in your life and in your ministry. Guard your heart. Guard your mind. What did Jesus say to Peter? I love it what he said to Peter. It's a very short verse, and you probably read it and went right over it. But he says this. He says, be careful, Peter. The enemy is sifting among you. If I'm the pastor of a church, and this is my staff right here, I think he would say, be careful, Chris, because the enemy is sifting among you, and he's looking for a crack in someone's heart. And as soon as he finds it, he's going to patiently just open up that crack, and he's going to create division. It's always going to happen. And if he did it with the disciples, he'll do it with you. Understand something, that when, not if, please hear this. When the enemy takes a run at your church, he won't do it to those who attend it. He'll do it to those who lead it. Jeff's the executive director for Church Boom, as I said, and there's not a month that doesn't go by that we don't hear about a problem in a church. Well, the associate pastor got all upset, and now they're posting stuff on social media, and now 29 people have left because a small group leader, had to get corrected, and all of that stuff, and all that junk is going to happen, and it happens inside of our ministries. We have to be aware of it. Now, here's what I want to do. Leave those 5 up there if we could. We're going to play a little music. And I want you just at the table, just real quick, take 3 or 4 minutes. We won't take a long time. Which one of these 5 spoke to you the most and why? Like that one spoke to me. Maybe you found your heart going there and you can just be honest at the table. Or maybe you've dealt with something like that. Or maybe it's like, wow, I never thought about that. Man, I really need to deal with that. So of those 5, just take a few minutes and say, of the 5, this is the one that speaks to me the most. Let's hit some music, go to your tables for 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll come right back.
Is yours completely. My heart is yours totally. You love with no reservation. You're not looking for perfection. There's no need in me pretending. I'll give you everything. my full attention. Nothing less than my devotion. Oh, speak to me and I will listen. I'll give you everything. I'll give you everything. Lift it up. Oh, oh, you can have my heart. Yes, you can. Oh, 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 you can. You can. The Lord of my emotions, set me free from selfish motives, and search me till there's nothing hidden, and I'll give you everything. Yes, I'll give you everything. Sing. Oh, oh, you can have my heart. You can have my heart. I belong to you. Oh, you can have my heart. Every part. Sing it again. Oh, you can. It belongs to you anywhere. Yeah. You can. Oh yeah, oh yeah. My heart is yours forever. Yes, it is. My heart is yours forever. Yes, it is. My heart is yours. My heart, my mind, my soul. My heart is yours forever. My emotions are yours, yeah. My
All
heart
right, about
is
2 more
yours.
minutes. 2 more minutes. Start wrapping it up.
All my dreams are yours, yeah. My heart is yours forever. All of my plans are yours. My heart is yours forever. Yeah, yeah. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. You got it. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. Yeah, you got it. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. You got it. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. You got it. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it. Hey, you got it. If you want my heart, you got it. You got it.
All right, 1 more minute. Start winding it down. 1 minute.
Yes, you got it. You got it. You got it. If you want my all, you got it. You got it. Oh, you can have my heart. Oh yeah, you can have my heart. You can, yeah. You can, hey. Say,
All right, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Here we go. If you didn't get a chance to share, don't worry. We'll break into groups in just a minute again. All right, here's the thing. Now let's turn the corner. We've talked about tension, the tension that happens between the first and second chair. It's real and it happens. Now, what do we do if you're the lead pastor and you recognize it in a team member, or you're the leader of youth or children or whatever, and you recognize it in one of your leaders? How do you deal with that? Well, there's a definition that I give in the book called Saving Your Church from Itself, and the definition is called leader drift. Put it on the screen for me if we could. Leader drift. Okay, help me out. What's the second word? The what? The subtle. Come on, one more time. Everybody out loud. The what? The subtle change, the negative change of an individual's attitude or behavior toward the leader and or the vision of the church. The key word is subtle. When their attitude or behavior changes. The key is the word subtle above anything else. If you read the book, Saving Your Church from Itself, it's all about noticing the subtle behaviors. Why is that important? Because if you don't recognize it until everybody else on the team recognizes it, it's too late. You have to recognize it before anybody else recognizes it. Before anybody else recognizes one of your team members. Again, you could be the youth pastor in your team, or you could be the campus pastor in your team, or the lead pastor in your team. When you have someone on your team that is starting to get a little negative in their attitude or behavior towards you or the church, you got to deal with it early. You have the subtle behaviors, because if you don't recognize it until everybody else recognizes it, it's too late. And the worst thing you could do for a great team member is to tolerate a weak one. It's the worst thing you could do. When someone is drifting, you have to recognize it early. I'm telling you, the book I wrote, Saving Your Church from Itself, only comes out of my own pain. So about, X amount of years ago, we gave the largest campus. I handed it to a guy that grew up in the I said grew up, but kind of grew in our ministry. And he was an incredible communicator. And I was enamored by his talent. He had an incredible leader, incredible communicator, kind of up-and-coming young guy in his early 30s, something like that. And we handed the largest campus, I think it was the largest or one of the two largest campuses, to him. And he was going to run with it. And I got to tell you, man, after a couple years, him running it, I started to notice something that was happening there. And I was like, man, he's starting to drift. And you know where the greatest thing was? Is I noticed, this is what I noticed. I noticed when I came to meetings with him, he no longer brought a piece of paper and a pen to take notes. And I pointed that out and I said, you don't take notes anymore when we talk. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you used to always take notes. I go, I think it's because you think I got nothing else to say. That maybe you have arrived. And he started getting more and more and more toxic. Now, stay with me. I'm going to tell you straight up. I should have dealt with it right here. I should have fired him right there. I waited about a year, and that only made things worse. Because one thing I tell leaders all the time, pay now or pay later. But if you pay later, you will always pay more. The cost is going to be greater. And the cost was greater because he started a church 2 blocks away. Took 500 people and almost $500,000 in income. That's a major adjustment. That's not on anybody else. That's on the leader. Now, I think it would have been damaging over here, but I waited longer and I had to pay more for it. Because somehow he had it in his mind that he was great and wonderful and blah, 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 and his heart started to drift. I recognized it early on, but I did not deal with it early on. You have to recognize it early on, and you got to have the conversation early on. A lot of people don't want to have the conversation because why is, just out of curiosity, throw it out to me. Why is it hard for us to have conversation with people? Why is it hard to maybe remove someone from ministry? What happens in our head and our mind of why that's so hard? Just throw it out. Someone just tell me. Being prideful and doing it. Why else do we not want to do it? What? Don't like conflict. It might get better. That's a big one. Easier to do nothing. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. We like to be approved. We like the affirmation. We don't want anybody to not like us. And that's another reason as well. But understand, you might want to write it down, it won't come on the screen, but you can't lead with authority if you're addicted to approval. You're going to have a really difficult time leading if you're addicted to approval. You can't lead anything big being addicted to approval. You're going to have to lead with authority, to be able to look at someone and say, look, man, you're getting out of balance. You need to straighten this out. And then if they don't straighten it out, you're done. Move off the team. You know, it's not, maybe they stay at the church. I don't know, it just depends. I'm trying to be ruthless, but I think we do a poor job. Here's what I think. I think that we hire quickly and we fire slowly, and I think that's a mistake. I think you got to hire slowly and fire quickly. And I'm not talking about, you're fired, turning into a Donald Trump TV show, but I'm talking about just like having the tough conversation. We want people to win. My goal is to never kick someone off the bus. My goal is to find them in the right seat. But if they're not willing to change and they continue to be divisive, I've got to deal with that situation. And that's on me. And when that happened a few years back, I told you that was painful. And I'm going to just straight up tell you, I've been through a ton of counseling for it. Because I was like, dude, I did everything for you. I mean, paid you more than you've ever been paid, gave you more authority than you've ever had in your life. You were a substitute school teacher at 26 years old when I met you. And now you're leading a campus with a lot of people and a big budget, and this is what you do to me? And it hurt. A lot of tears. I live at the beach, a lot of long walks on the ocean, just like, I can't believe this. Went to counseling, and I'm going to tell you right now, I got through it, but I didn't get over it. That's the difference. I got through it, but I didn't get over it. And I'm still trying. I'm still a little angry. I'm still a little upset. And it's been years. And it still just drives me. If I have a conversation, I can feel myself getting upset. I'm like, why did you do this to me? Why did you do this? And that's where the book, Saving Your Church from Itself, was written. And when it came out, I sent him 6 cases. No, I'm sorry. It's like, why is this all the same book? Because it's you. I wanted to. There's a lot of biblical examples of people drifting. Go with me if we could. Let's go to this. Look, remember Moses. Check this out. Moses goes to the mountain and says, I'm going to pray. And when he comes back, now stay with me, 6 weeks later, not 6 years later, 6 weeks. So I'm Moses, okay, and this is my tribe, my team, my church. I know not Pastor Moses, but I mean, he was. Maybe my title, but he was the spiritual leader. Okay, the spiritual leader, the pastor. Okay, guys, I'm going to go up and pray. Okay, we love you, Moses, and we love God, and we're all in. I go back 6 weeks later, I come back, and they build a cow to worship this calf. Like, that's all it took was 6 weeks? Now, I got to believe that what was happening in the tribe didn't happen in 6 weeks. It probably happened over the last 2 years. It just showed up today. Same thing. How about David? Psalms 55. Oh, my gosh. This verse I hung on to during that season of my life. He says, I could have taken it from an enemy, but we walked together in the temple courts. Like, I would have been an enemy. It would have been all right. I understand that, but we were friends. And I gave you everything, and, like, I trusted you. You know, and, man, that's brutal. But David felt that pain of leadership. How about with the 10 spies of Israel? We talked about that last night here at the leadership volunteer meeting last night. 10 spies of Israel, what do? They turn against their leader, and they spread a bunch of bad report to all the people. They go and get all negative and get everybody all worked up. How about Judas sells out his leader for silver? And by the way, if you ever noticed this, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but it's a cool thing. I don't think it's cool, but it's interesting. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Judas. Every disciple called him master or Lord, but look at Judas. He never called him master or Lord. He only called him teacher or rabbi. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, you will never see him refer to him as master or Lord. He never accepted that position in his life because he always thought he knew better. I always thought he knew how to handle political situations better in the entire situation. It happens there. Julius Caesar. I know it's not a biblical reference. He had 60 conspirators. There were 60 Senate people on his team. He had a leadership team of 60 people. Okay, think about this for a moment. This is a history fact. Julius Caesar has 60 leaders. All 60 leaders conspire to kill him. Now, okay, and even his friend Brutus. And in the Latin it says, et tu Brute, meaning you too, Brutus. As the knife was going in, he says, you too, my friend? You know, I mean, it's an intense moment. Now, stay with me. 60 people saying, we're going to kill Julius Caesar, our leader. How long does that take to get all 60 to sign up for murder? That doesn't take a week. I got to believe that happened way over here, maybe 2 years before, when one of them thought they were better than him. When one of them thought they were a stronger leader, then they had a conversation. Then they got 4, then they got 8, then they got 12, and then there was 20 and 40. They finally got to 60. The point was this. Did Julius Caesar recognize? I don't know if he did. Did he recognize the early signs of drifting in his leaders over here? but didn't deal with it until over here? That's the real question. Maybe that was with Moses' issue. Maybe he recognized it way over here, but didn't deal with it until over here. I know that was my issue. I recognized it here. I didn't deal with it till over there. But understand something. The early signs of leader drifting, you have to recognize them. You have to know when someone's starting to drift, when someone's getting a little toxic, when something's starting to happen, and you can't deal with it over here. Or over here. You got to deal with it over here. You got to deal with it early on in the relationship or early on when the problem is there. And we've got to recognize that, because there's issues there. There was a guy in our church years ago, I'll never forget, and it was one of our campuses, a pretty large campus, and I was speaking regularly at this campus years ago, and in walks this guy, and it's like 5 minutes. We had five Sunday morning services at that time, or 6 or something, I don't remember, but this guy walked in, and he walks in, and have you ever met anybody, now, I know this is going to sound stereotyping, but have you ever met anybody that they may be the nicest person in the world, but they flat out look intimidating? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's that guy that when you're pumping gas at 1 in the morning and he pulls up, you're like, yeah, $1.50 is enough, because you're nervous. You know what I'm talking about, right? Come on, man. It's like, man, this guy's intimidating. That was this guy. He comes walking in, I don't know, 45, probably 50 years old. He is just a mountain of a man, and he's probably 6'3", just big. He is, the best way to describe it is he looks like the mob. He's this white dude, but he looks at kind of Italian look. His hair is slicked back. He doesn't look like the Godfather, but he at least looks like the guy that guards the Godfather. His hair is slicked back. He's got T-shirt on, and he's just a massive dude. He's tatted all the way up to here. He's got chains going down, and he has sunglasses that he literally never takes off. Ever. And when I mean never, ever. Worship, prayer, I baptize him with sunglasses on. Name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. He came up, great. He literally never takes the sunglasses off. So he comes walking in and he sits in the front row. I mean, just imagine like it's a big audience. He sits in the front row. I'm over here talking to some people. Service is going to start in about 3 or 4 minutes. I look over and I go to meet him. I'm like, I got to meet him. So I go, hey man, how you doing? And I shake his hand. He stands up, just intimidating man. I go, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing good. How are you? And he talks like this. And I'm like, he's going to kill me. That's why he's here. I'm going to die. And he goes, how you doing? Literally. And I said, I'm doing good. My name's Chris. Name's Glenn. Literally like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm looking for a cannoli. And he's like, if you've seen The Godfather, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, he's going to kill me. And so I get up to speak. Right? The place is packed at this service. I get up to speak, and it's one of those Sundays you're hitting a home run. You know what I'm talking about, leader. Like, you're hitting a home run. Every story's landing. People are falling out of their seat with humor, but yet the intensity, it was incredible. People were falling out of their seat laughing on this certain story, and he's just like this the whole time. Not one smile on his face. And I thought, this is it, And so, after service is done, whatever, I get a chance to shake his hand again. He comes the next week, then the 3rd week, then the 5th week, then the 6th week. And I'll never forget, he comes up to me 6, 7 weeks. He's like, Pastor Chris. And the 2 things happened were really funny. He goes, do you know why I always sit in the front row? And he gave his life to Christ, by the way, like on the 3rd week. Gave his life to Christ, raised his hand, gave his life, prayed with him, all that. And but about the 6th, maybe 8th week, 2 months into it, and he's given his life to Christ, and he's like, hey, you know why I sit in the front row before the service starts? And I'm like, I have no idea why I always sit in the front row. He goes, if anybody tries anything on you, I'll take care of it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he wants someone to try something on me. He's getting itchy. He hasn't hurt someone now that he's been a Christian for 8 weeks, And then I don't know, 3 months later or 3 or 4 months into it, he comes up to me and goes, I think I need to serve. And I said, what would you like to do, Glenn? He goes, I think it would be good if I was the head usher. And I'm thinking, I don't think so, man. Like, people come in late, you're going to mace them. Like, I don't know what you're going to do, And so we found him a spot or whatever, and he was awesome. But man, after several months, there were issues in this guy's life. And the funniest thing is, he asked me to meet him at his work. He owns a business. I meet him at his work so we can go have lunch. He owns an a massive 40-acre auto wrecking yard. They smashed the cars, and I'm like, there are bodies out here for sure. Like, if you meet them, you'll know. Within seconds, you'll think, oh, yeah, there's something going on here. And but there were a lot of issues, you know, and I found there were a lot of issues inside of it. I think we do that sometimes with leaders. Maybe we put them into positions too quickly, and we only find out later that there's issues. Or sometimes, you know, the issues don't come out until later because we're enamored by their talent. They're enamored by their ability. Or we really believe in them, you know. I think sometimes if you're a really positive individual, I think that we make this mistake that, you know, like we believe in people and we want to give them a chance. And here's what I think the mistake is. Instead of bringing out of people what God put in them, we try to put in them what we think God left out. I do that with people. It's like, but it's not, they're not leaders. Why are you putting them in a leadership position? You don't even know their character. You don't even know like, we do that. We all make those mistakes. And when those mistakes are made, man, things start to happen when those mistakes are made. Let me tell you, you know, if we're not careful, we don't recognize the early signs of drifting. If we're not careful who we put into leadership, if we don't have the tough conversation with someone early on rather than later, man, I'm telling you, it'll start to happen, and people start to drift. You know, there's a Judas at every table. Like it's happening. Like there's people in the church, and it's gonna happen. You know, and maybe it's because, again, they didn't like the way that you lead worship, or they don't like the way that you lead the youth, or they don't like the way that you preach, or they think it should be more verse by verse, and why don't we do more? Then we need to move more in the Holy Spirit. Well, the bottom line is we always got to remind ourselves, especially if we're not in the first chair, it's never our job to replace what God put in place. It's never our job. It's not like, well, you know, because we get that. Here's what we do. You got to be careful. Make sure you and nobody on your team starts to think or feel this way. Things like this. I love the church. I tolerate the leader. It's a dangerous place for someone to start thinking. They won't say it out loud, but they start thinking that way. Hey, do what you want in the church, but leave my department alone. Or, this is the big one, and people have thought it before, things would be better if I was in charge. That's a dangerous place to get. And then when that starts to happen, man, the enemy just starts working his way in, and he starts creating division, and he starts creating tension, and he starts creating issues inside of the person's life or the person's heart. And then all of a sudden, they start getting a little subgroup, and then maybe that subgroup leaves, because people usually don't leave church one by one. They leave in tribes. And then they start to leave, they start to exit, they start to go the other way, they start to post stuff on social media, they start to get people to have tension against you, they start getting people to question you. And then, like happened to me, there ends up being at least at that campus, a church split. Or as we like to call it today, a church plant. People all the time, we started a church. No, you didn't. You split one. Get honest, at least. At least be honest. That's a good thing for a pastor. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Just be honest. But we end up calling it a church plant when in reality it was a church split. How do we recognize the early signs of drifting? Let me quickly run through these, and then we'll wrap it up. Here's 5 things for you to recognize. 5 things to recognize. Now listen, this is important. Recognize it in your heart, or recognize it in the people under you. Catch that. Don't be thinking of everybody else. I mean, think of your team, but also think of yourself. Have I ever done this? Okay, here we go. 5 signs of early drifting, because you got to catch it early, not later. Sign number 1, alliances are starting to be formed. You can't feel it, but you know, or you can't see it, but you can feel it. Like alliances are being formed. You know, there's a little bit of toxic happening. I remember when the toxic started happening with this individual that I told you about earlier. I walked into a Starbucks. He was sitting there with 3 other people. He was leaning in and talking. I could tell he was trying to be quiet. I'm walking up to the table, and the one guy on the other end goes, like, he's here, you know? And I walked up, and they go, hey, man, how you doing? And I thought, it's happening. We're talking about the church, and they're talking about me. Of course they are. But alliances are starting to be formed, and you have to be careful. It's not something you see all the time, but it's something you feel. And you've got to be sensitive to the Spirit of God to be able to tell you, like, there's a problem there. You got to deal with that issue. Have you ever had that happen in your heart Or do you know someone on your team that's happened? Alliances are starting to be formed. That is the early signs of drifting. They're not out at the church yet. They're not creating a lot of problems. But the early sign is like, there's an alliance here towards a different thought or a different thing. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Am I right or wrong? 100%. Alliances are starting to be formed. Number 2, little by little, they begin to disengage. Little by little, they begin to disengage. They're not as connected with the team anymore. They're not as connected with you anymore. They're not as connected to, in a staff meeting, they seem a little bit more quiet. And they just start to slowly kind of disengage. Didn't that happen in the parable of the prodigal son? When the young son returns, the young brother returns, and where is the older brother? He's out in the field. He's not in there with the party, because it always goes the same way. You disengage, you get discontent, and then there's discord. Disengage, discontent, and then discord. The older brother disengaged. He was discontent with the entire situation. He was upset, and then there was discord. That's why he said, he didn't say my brother, he said your son. Because he didn't want to own it. Because there was something happening there, which happens. Number 3. They begin weaponizing their preference with spirituality. This one drives me nuts. Because they're weaponizing their preference as if it's what God wants for the church or for you. Well, we need to be verse by verse, and we need to be more about this, and we need to be more about that. They're weaponizing their preference with spirituality. Oh, people do that all the time. They're not going to weaponize it with, an opinion. They're weaponizing it with spirituality. They're making you feel like, here's what they're trying to do. Like, well, the real spiritual, this is the way it really should be. And your way is not as spiritual as mine. Oh my gosh, that is incredibly spiritual arrogance. But we do it. You may have done it, or you may sense it on someone on your team. But we begin to weaponize a preference with spirituality, and it is always dangerous. Especially when they get in private conversations or even conversations with you. I'm not being negative, but I'm like, dude, I love it when someone says, I don't want to be critical, but I'm like, you're about to be. So just stop. I'm not being negative, but, or I love the church, but, I think the sermons are great, but, and then they're kind of going into, what they're going to do is they're going to set up their preference and then cover it with spirituality to make it as if your thoughts are lower than their thoughts as it pertains to God's priorities. Number 4, they start casting a vision different than the vision of a leader. Now, it's not stay with me. It's not a big vision. It's not a big vision like, someone's going, hey, we need to build another building and the pastor doesn't want to build it. We need to raise $5 million. That's not what we're talking about. It's about how the Bible is taught, what kind of ministries we have, what kind of ministries we don't have, what we should be doing for outreach, what we shouldn't be doing for outreach, whatever it is. But it's like this, like, man, I love the pastor. Hey, Tracy, I love the pastor, man, but, I just think we need to be more, spend our money this way, more in the Word, more like holiness. It's like, I love the pastor, but. Yeah, exactly, is what I should do. But we don't follow that. We go into this, and really what I'm doing is I'm casting a vision different than the vision of the leader. Do you see how that happens? It doesn't sound divisive, but I'm like, I love the pastor, but I just think we need to. It is very dangerous to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that with staff, with each other. I always tell leaders, have someone on the outside that doesn't go to the church. You're an associate, you're a small group leader, whatever. Have someone on the outside that doesn't go to the church that you fully trust with all your heart, and you can have honest conversations with them. Like, here, man, here's what I'm really wrestling with. And they're going to speak truth to you. But you don't talk about it among the people in the church. You don't talk about it among the staff. You don't, if you're a leader and you're like, well, every Monday I work out with this guy and we play pickleball and blah, 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 and I kind of talk to him and he's one of the ushers. And one thing I always say, said it last night, never bring sheep into a shepherd's conversation. You're going to hurt the sheep every time. They're the ones that are going to get hurt, which cracks me up because the Bible says it would be better to tie a millstone around your neck and drop yourself into the ocean than it would be to cause one of your brothers to stumble. Hold on. So what the word is saying is, it's just better if you kill yourself than if you cause someone to stumble. I don't know if everybody realizes how bad this is. It's a bad thing when we do it. You have to be careful not to do it. And then the fifth and final thing, they shift from having great questions to having a questioning spirit. That's when you know any of those things, you're starting to recognize that there's early signs of drifting. And the thing is, you have to recognize it over here before it gets too big over here. A piece of fruit that goes sour doesn't become sweet again. If you let it go too long, it's going to be too late. And you're going to get hurt, and the damage is only going to get greater. If it's happening in your heart, if any of this is happening in your heart, deal with it. If it's happening with someone in the church that you know right now, you go and deal with it. Accountability doesn't have to just flow from top to bottom. It can flow from left to right. I can go up to someone, and I'm an usher, and she's on the greeting team, and she's kind of maybe being a little gossipy, or he's being a little gossipy, and I can just say, hey, I'm not the boss or anything, but like, you might want to be careful not to do that. Staff member to staff member, hey, I'm not the boss. I mean, I'm the youth pastor, you're the but let's not do that. It doesn't always have to flow from top to bottom. It can flow from left to right. Be careful. Now, what do you do with all this as we wind it down? And then I want to give you, make a couple little opportunities for you to grow as a leader. I'm going to give that to you in just a minute. But before we do, here it is. Last thing. Put it up there for me if we could. Last slide. 3 things real clear. Number 1, be aware of the what? The what? Come on, say it with me. The signs of drifting. Early, not late, early. Okay, number 2, have the difficult conversation. Don't be afraid. Okay, you can't lead with authority if you are addicted to approval. So you got to have the difficult conversation and then choose the right course of action. It might be they need a different seat on the bus. It might mean that their heart got corrected. Sometimes if it doesn't get corrected, it might mean you're not on a different seat, you're not on this bus anymore. But I don't know, every situation is different. But I'm telling you, have the difficult conversation, choose the right course of action, protect the sheep. That's what a shepherd does. They protect. This is going to happen. You're going to get hurt in ministry. People are going to say stuff. They're going to want to drift. Things are going to happen. And you've got to recognize it early, because if you don't, you'll end up paying a ton. You'll always pay so much more if you wait until later. I want to give you guys just a couple things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Mitch. Anybody have any questions real quick? I don't know if anybody has any questions. Nobody? We're good? Good? Bueller? All right. A couple things. First, on your, I don't know where it went, my car. Oh, there it is. First, a few things. Number 1, there is a card on your table, and we are having a one-day leadership event at Pastor Jeff's church. It is on October 7th. October 7th. I will be there speaking and love to have you there. So all the information is there. This is not an event in which you come alone. This is an event where you bring as many team members as you can. It's from 9 to 2. Lunch will be provided, and it's a one-day leadership event. It's just a couple miles away from here. I would love for you to be there. Please take this. Get signed up. There's a QR code. You can get signed up today and get your team there. I think leaders are learners, and you got to constantly be growing. So make sure that you come to that one-day event coming up on October 7th. Secondly, want to let you know something that we have at Church Boom called Church Boom University. Church Boom University, I like that little encouragement. Church Boom University is a ongoing leadership. How many believe leaders are learners? You got to be learning, you got to be developing, you got to be growing. Church Boom University is where you get master classes on how to grow your church, how to handle tithing and grow your income, and how to grow leaders, and how to, like, all of it. It's got myself on there, Sam Chan, Maxwell, all these people. We put master classes on there, like 5 15-minute videos on a topic. It's all available for you. We have exclusive webinars. We have one this coming week for Church Boom University just for you. We've got a platform where you can communicate with other leaders. Quarterly, we send resources. And so if you are not part of Church Boom University, man, I encourage you to be a part of it. Put it on the screen for me, if we could. And what we're going to do is, my latest book is called Traction, and it's all about developing your church, the 5 proven principles for leadership growth. Now, here's the deal. If you hit that QR code right now, here's what's going to happen. You are going to get, all you got to do is pay for the shipping, and the book is free. I'm going to give you the book. It's yours to have. The book is free, and all you got to do is pay for shipping. You're going to get 30 days for free of Church Boom University. At the end of 30 days, it's $29 a month, which is incredibly small investment when the fact that we're sending you books and doing all this stuff. There's not some big profit margin. We just want to we got to pay the people for our webinars and all this stuff. We just want to help leaders grow. So the book is free. 30 days for Church Boom University is absolutely free. So get that QR code and make sure that you become part of the Church Boom University. I think you'll absolutely love it. It's an ongoing leadership platform. And again, it's $29 after 30 days. So don't text me and go, why am I getting charged $29? We got people do that every month. And I'm like, did you not hear? So check that out. Get the book. You'll absolutely love it. There's one more QR code we want to give you, and put it on the screen for them if we could. If you are a church that is 100 or less, or maybe even 150 or less, and you want to, you just want to grow. Maybe you feel a little stuck. We did something. We have something that we created for churches that maybe are not massive churches, but need help, want to grow, and want to be impactful. And what we did is we put together a training program that lasts up to 2 years long. The first group is the most important. It's 10 months long. So you go 10 months into a Zoom group with 5 or 6 other pastors. Check this out, for free. We pay the coaches. You don't have to. You can get resources for free. We give away emergency funding for free. You go on a 4-day soul care retreat in the Rocky Mountains or in Nashville, Tennessee area for free. You don't pay anything. We don't ask anything from you. It's just what we do is we find churches that are maybe 100 or less, or right in that category. We got churches that got 15 people, and we've got them over 100. We have a church. I was just talking to a pastor. He was at 42 people when he first came into the group. Now he's at about 300. We just coach them up, and we give away everything for free. We have 2 times in the year where you can sign up for it. One is right now, because in October is when the next group starts. Sign up. It's free. It's a no-brainer. It's not like, well, let me pray about it. You don't need to pray about it. Just sign up and get on there and get everything for free to help you. And so that's another QR code there. So become part of Church Boom University. Get into a cohort and be there in soon, October 7th. I'd love to see you guys there at October 7th. And I want to pray, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Mitch. I was supposed to be done at 11:30. I'm 2 minutes over, and I hate being late. So let's pray. Father, thank you for this amazing group of people. Thank you for what we get to do. Thank you, God, that we get to serve you in the way that we do. Help all of us in here to learn something today that will change how we lead moving forward. God, I pray for every church, every leader in this place, God, that you would give us an abundance of your wisdom and your anointing and your presence, and help us to grow our ministries for the cause and the kingdom of Christ. God, we want to make heaven crowded. That's what we want to do at Church Boom, and that's what we want to do as pastors here. And God, I pray that every one of us, God, would learn, grow, develop, and become everything that you would want us to be. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, thank you, guys. I'm going to turn it over to the Reverend